Hi, everybody.
Oh, we're on.
I think we are. Unmute.
Yeah, maybe we should speed it a little bit.
Hi. So we're just gonna get started. I have a little bit of housekeeping stuff to do first. Hello. So my name is Lily Bynes, and if you've never been on our Zoom webinars before, I want to go over some housekeeping information first. So I'm one of the advisors here in the Dean's office, and on camera over here is Emily and Emma. They're going to be our featured hostesses, for today. But first of all, if you can, please tell me, can you hear me? Look for the chat function or the Q&A function to let me know if you can hear us. And I think I'm going to ask everybody that via the chat function. Can you hear us? If you can anybody hear us? Hopefully. Yay, okay.
Oh, yay. Cool.
Thank you. All right, so if you can't hear us, then check your volume. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. We're gonna be on camera for they're gonna be on camera for just a minute here as they introduce themselves with their introductory slides, and then we are going to focus on the presentation. And so the video will go away. Don't be alarmed. It'll just be the presentation and voices, okay? And today's webinar is being recorded, so we'll be able to post this on our website. It is soon to be updated website. And what else do I need to tell you? Please use the Q&A function or the chat function, whatever seems easiest to you. Chatting will only come here to me to ask Emily and Emma your questions. The Q&A function also will only come here to me as well in the Dean's office. So, okay, we're gonna go ahead and get started, and then again, after the bio pictures, you'll see the video go away and the audio will continue, okay? Oh, where am I? Sorry. Maybe.
So hi everyone, my name is Emma. I'm a fourth-year human development major and I'm minoring in global disease biology. I am from Sacramento, and it's kind of funny because Emily and I actually went to middle school together. Yeah.
I was going to say that.
Yeah. And then hopefully after I'm done with Davis, I plan on applying to PA school, which stands for physician assistant.
Hi everybody, so my name's Emily. Like Emma mentioned, I'm also from Sacramento, California, graduating this spring with a major in managerial economics and a minor in human development. So my career goals are a little all over the place, so feel safe if you are also feeling a little all over the place. I eventually do want to become a teacher, whether it's a high school or professor. As of right now, I'm looking for jobs in the marketing or HR industry, and then figuring out what I'm going to do after that.
Great. So like I said, we're going to cut the video and keep on with the audio so you can focus on the slides. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask Emma and Emily anything. And I'm here for any advising support as well as moderation, okay? Here we go. Oh, I did it. Here we go.
Alrighty, so a little bit about me. So in terms of my academic life here at Davis, I entered Davis as a bio major. My whole life, I really wanted to be a pharmacist. But then after entering at a pharmacy, I realized that it just wasn't for me. And then I decided that I wanted to be pre-med instead. However, after going through Chem 2A and Chem 2B and all that, I just wasn't doing that well. I was just getting C's in my classes, and that was just a little bit discouraging. And so I wasn't sure if I wanted to be pre-health anymore. And so I actually switched to Asian American Studies, which is a little bit random coming as a bio major. But the reason being is because I was planning on minoring in Asian American Studies, and I did really well in those classes. I really enjoyed the content. I was really passionate about it, and I just thought, like, okay, I don't really know what I want to do. Maybe this is a good, temporary stage while I figure things out. Fast forward to junior year, I decided that I wanted to become a PA after being introduced to PA in a student-run clinic. And then after looking at the pre-res, I decided, okay, maybe I'll just switch to human development because it aligns a little bit closer to my prerequisites. And I also really like that had a multidisciplinary curriculum. So I would be taking classes in like anthropology, philosophy, things like that. And that was really interesting to me. In terms of my involvement, I'm currently a peer advisor here, obviously, at the College of Ag. I am a research assistant for the UC Davis Division of Hematology and Oncology. I'm a note taker for the Student Disability Center, and I'm also the secretary of the Pre-PA Club. And then as you can see on the screen, some of the previous involvements that I participated in, I guess, yeah. Okay.
Okay, so I had kind of a similar path as Emma in that I also changed my major several times. So I came in as a freshman with the psych major, really wanted to head to medical school. Realized pretty fast, I volunteered in a hospital actually, and kind of realized that wasn't exactly what I wanted to do. I also wasn't a huge fan of the Biz 2A, Chem 2A, all that good stuff. I switched into the nutrition science major, thinking I might go down the registered dietitian path instead because it seemed like a really good lifestyle and career choice. And after another couple quarters doing those science classes still, I realized, hey, I think I want to work more with like food policy or like the politics of health rather than the direct like patient experience. So I switched into managerial economics because they have an agricultural emphasis within that. And I would say that my work experience has shaped what I want to do in the future a lot more than my coursework. And so I think that's a little bit different than everyone. But through a lot of the jobs that I've had or internships, they're listed up there, I realized that I really like working with people, and I like teaching people and helping people, and that I might be good at a lot of things, but I'm not really great at one thing in particular. But I think that just like loving to help people and like helping people learn is something that I really want to do in the future. But so I've held the peer advisor position for several years now at the dean's office, participated in the honors program. I also held a leadership position in Greek life, which was very eye-opening to working with a large crowd of different people. And then some of the other student involvements I have are up there as well. I'm looking to go into the food and beverage industry. Part of the reason why is I had a student assistant position for the CAES Alumni Association's wine program, which I started last summer and will be doing through this summer. And that really showed me a lot about working with companies and working with families who are really passionate about the industry that they're in. And so that's kind of given me the motivation to look for jobs in that area because people are really passionate about food and wine and things like that, things that make people happy. So that's kind of where I'm at right now.
So in terms of post-grad plans, for me, I'm actually extending my education here at Davis. I'm in for a 5th year. I'm done with my classes for my degree. However, I will be spending the next 2 quarters finishing up some science prerequisites for PA school, specifically microbiology and anatomy. And then this summer, I'll actually be interning in Japan for a month. So that's really exciting. I'll be working with high school students over there, and we're facilitating like a youth empowerment program. So I'm super excited for that. And then after that, I'll just be sticking around Japan, and then I'll be traveling to Korea and Taiwan after that. When I come back after the summer, I plan on continuing to work as a peer advisor here in the office, and then hopefully towards winter quarter, I'll start my clinical hours. In terms of my long term, I plan on traveling a lot. That is one of my main goals, and then I also plan on getting my master's, and then which will lead me into my career, which is PA.
Okay, so as for me, I'll be graduating this spring, and then this summer, hoping to travel. I'll be working here in Davis, hopefully doing some last trips with different family and friends, and then I'll be moving to Portland in August, which is something I've been wanting to do for a while. I used to travel up there with my family, and one of my roommates and I kind of decided just to take the plunge and decide to move, whether or not we had found jobs yet. So we'll be heading up there in August. We kind of decided, because neither of us are heading straight into grad school this year, that this was kind of the time to just do something for ourselves and do something while we're young and have no attachments to anything. So we'll be moving up there in August. I'm looking into several different job pathways right now, including, like I mentioned before, marketing or HR jobs, as well as looking on to university jobs, because there's a lot of universities up there and I love working in the school environment. So we'll be up there for at least a year. And then I'll be looking to possibly go back into school again if my brain has had enough of a break, and looking to get a master's in perhaps like economics or public health or maybe education, and then head on to hopefully in the future becoming a teacher or professor, like I mentioned.
For me, some resources that I utilize to kind of help me plan out my post-grad plans is going to HPA and just networking. For me, networking was a huge deal because through networking, I was able to find a lot of shadowing opportunities. And personally for me, like shadowing is super important because like I just have this mentality like you won't know until you try, right? So like I didn't really want to commit to the idea of being like pre-PA until I knew for sure that like this is what I wanted to do. And through shadowing, that really like solidified that idea for me. A resource on campus that I wish I had known about and utilized is the pre-grad professional advising, and I provided the link on the slide for you all.
What's interesting at the UC is a lot of times people expect you to go straight into grad school afterwards. And so you kind of have to figure out which pathways are the best for you to utilize to get more like direct job help. And so I've used the Internship and Career Center like for several years now. They're helpful for whether you just want to make your resumes better, your cover letters better, or you can even just schedule an appointment with one of them to sit down and help you search for jobs. And they'll kind of help you narrow down your options and maybe what your major can be used for, all that good stuff. LinkedIn, it's the new social media, it kind of seems like, but it is still valid for looking for jobs in certain areas of the country, looking for jobs in certain industries, and networking with people you meet at the internship and career fairs, which is another bullet point I had. I actually never got anything. I've never got a job or internship out of it. I had some offers. It was never anything that I wanted, but they're really good to get good at interviews because you have to sell yourself in just a few minutes, a lot of times to employers at the stand. So I started going, I think, beginning of junior year, gone almost every quarter since. So I would totally recommend those. And then you really just have to put the work into looking into company websites, how often they're updated, talking to people too. Like Emma said, networking. You never know when your professor's sister's brother's husband is going to know someone that can get you a job because connections are big on the job market in this time too. So it's really just using everything on campus that we are paying for with our tuition. There's a lot out there. Yeah, if you have any questions on those resources, yeah, happy to take those.
So we're going to open it up for questions right now. And I'm also going to put that up in case you need additional information about seeking advising in the dean's office. I jotted down some questions for Emma and Emily as you two were talking, but I do want to open it up to our viewers as well. If you have any questions about anything that they discussed, or if you want me to go back in the slideshow to some of the things that they talked about. So in just these last couple of slides, you both talked about resources on campus. Oh, actually, before I ask my question, remember that you can use the webinar chat function that is only going to come directly to me here in the dean's office, and also there is the Q&A function. So don't worry about which one's the right one. Just go ahead and ask your question on either one of those methods. Okay, so both of you talked about the resources available, and part of that discussion was about the timing that you started doing that. Mm-hmm. So Emily, you mentioned going to the career fairs like your junior year. Mm-hmm. Can you both talk a little bit about, now that you're at the cusp of like finishing your major requirements, two different paths, would you have started earlier? What would you have done differently? Because I know that we might have a mix of class levels watching us today.
Yeah, absolutely. You want to go first?
Yeah, I guess for me, it never hurts to start early, right? For anything. And the really cool thing about HPA is that if you speak with like Joanne or anyone there, they have like a timeline worksheet that they break it down by quarter. So they'll ask you, okay, what are your goals for that quarter? And I actually still utilize that outline till this day. And so I actually have sounds kind of outrageous, but I have like a 3-year plan. Yeah, and then I broke it down by quarter. So like, for example, like I plan on applying for PA school in 2020. And so I've mapped it out, like everything that I need to do and all the classes that I need to take before 2020, before the application cycle starts. And so that was really helpful for me. And also, at least for my path, because I need clinical hours, starting early does definitely never hurts, because then you can kind of, I guess, evenly distribute them. You know, being a full-time student does get a little bit difficult while trying to balance all these extracurriculars. So just knowing ahead of time and knowing who to talk to and who to contact, you can kind of like evenly allocate, I guess, these responsibilities in terms of like when to meet your end goal. I don't know. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, I think your timeline, that's,
Yeah.
you know, that's how you're evenly allocating
Yeah,
your,
exactly.
your plan.
Mhm.
Yeah. And then just for clarification, HPA is Health Professions Advising, hpa.ucdavis.edu.
Yes, thank you.
So one thing I wish I'd done earlier when I was trying to settle on a major was talking to major advising. I think that's a really underutilized tool just because they have connections in their own field. Some of the peer advisors that work in those offices might be graduating and might have bigger insight on what jobs you can use with that major, because that was what I was having a really tough time nailing down, is what exactly am I going to use this for? And I still am. It's a learning curve, but I think so starting to talk to major advisors early, even if you're not sure if that's the major you want to be in. And then another thing with the internship at Career Center, I started taking my resume there, I think around sophomore year. And that was really helpful just to kind of start building your resume, what you want your resume to look like and what you want to emphasize, because it's time consuming. Applying for jobs and doing resumes and cover letters is super time consuming. So if you get good at them early on, it'll be less stressful down the road when you're trying to design resumes and do that all senior year at the same time that you're trying to finish a whole year senior year coursework. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we had a question come in. What on-campus advising resources do we have access to after graduating?
ICCU do. I know that you can continue to use their resources as an alum. That's the only one I'm familiar with that I've paid attention to.
Health profession will also provide services if you're an alum as well. And then you can, if you plan on going to graduate school, you can always attend the graduate studies, which is actually upstairs in Marac Hall, so the second floor, I believe.
I think your major advisors are also a great resource, and even here in the dean's office as an advisor here, I have sometimes students that I've worked with over the years come back after graduating and just kind of asking that question, like, who can I talk to, and I don't know where to get started. So even if you lose contact or names of offices change, you can always come back to the dean's office and just ask us, you know, for some direction again as to where you can go. So make the connections now, you know, 'cause that's helpful.
It is. It's helpful to get to know your major advisor like on a first name basis too, just because they'll help you out whenever you go back because they recognize your face too, which is helpful.
Have you used any faculty relationships for like letters of recommendation, or how have faculty been engaging with you?
Yeah, so for me, when I applied for the internship in Japan, I actually did ask for 2 letters of recommendations, one from my supervisor here at the College of Ag, and then one from my previous, I guess you can call it like an internship through First Year Ag Connections. And so that was really helpful, and they were like super supportive, and I think when it comes to asking for letter of rights, it's always helpful to let them know, you know, what you plan on doing there, how long you're going to be there, maybe even giving them like your resume so they can kind of have something to work with in terms of writing your letter, and also just checking in with them like throughout the process. So like, for example, when I got an interview, I would email both of them, hey, I got the interview, and then when I got in, I was like, hey, I got in, and so they were just like really excited for me, and it's just nice to have that support on campus, especially because sometimes it does get a little bit intimidating when you're talking to people who are like older than you, you know, their staff or faculty. So it does get intimidating, but building those connections definitely help, I guess, for non-on-campus things. Yeah.
My most direct experience with a faculty member, I completed an honors thesis this year through the Managerial Economics Department, the Ag and Natural Resources. And so I got to work with her. Her name is Professor Kiesel. She's a lecturer through the Managerial Economics Department, obviously. And I worked with her for fall and winter quarters to complete a thesis on research she herself had implemented in the last year. And so I've never spent that much time with one professor going to office hours so consistently and getting one on, yeah, another thing, go to office hours, that's what everyone says. But spending that much time one-on-one with her and really getting to know her as a person, and like she ended up being just a really inspiring role model and just such an intelligent woman. It was really cool to get to know a professor in that context because that doesn't happen that often in college. So if you have any interest in research, I would totally recommend looking into doing a thesis within your department. Sometimes you can get upper division units for doing that. It kind of taught me I'm not looking to go into research as a career in any way. I'd much rather teach than do the research. But it was a really tough learning curve for some things, and that was I got a lot out of it. And as far as using that in the future, she told me if I ever need a letter of rec to come to her. And so since my career path isn't so clearly defined, what I'm going to do before I graduate is just go in and ask her for a general letter of recommendation. Like Emma mentioned, bringing in a resume would be really helpful, and that way I at least have a template from her, and then I could maybe ask her to update it in the future if I have a specific job or grad school in mind.
And then following up on what Emily said about office hours, I highly recommend it. I honestly did not start going to office hours until junior year because I was always I still am, but I'm really shy and really timid. And so just going to office hours, I don't know, I just felt really weird about it, especially because a lot of times I never really have questions to ask. I like to just listen to other people's questions. But then I just had to bite the bullet and go. And then it was just really nice because sometimes nobody, actually a lot of times people don't go. So you have this space to build that relationship with your professor. And so when I was taking UWP 104, I don't know, I just had really amazing conversations with my professor. We talked about Game of Thrones, Stranger Things.
Yes.
She told me about all these amazing resources and all these, she was just awesome. Honestly, I highly recommend it. Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah.
When you get that one-on-one time that you weren't expecting, it's really, really cool. And you always do better on tests. Even if you just go and listen for 20 minutes, you'll do better on a test.
Mm-hmm.
So we have another question. Great questions, everybody. For those of us who don't have a car or don't have a car yet, do you think we can still apply to jobs off campus? The student is feeling a little discouraged in applying to jobs right now because they don't have a car.
Personally for me, so I didn't start having a car until my sophomore year, but even then I didn't really use it because the freaking parking permit on campus is so expensive. So the nice thing about living in Davis is the bus system is really great. So I utilize the bus for pretty much everything. Even now that I have a car, I don't bus to campus. And so maybe what I would recommend, or I guess it makes it a little bit easier, is maybe try looking for on-campus jobs first. There's so many opportunities on campus. You can work in the mail room, you can be a peer advisor, you can work at the coho. There's so many opportunities, and this time of year is actually prime time to start looking, just because a lot of people are leaving, or either because they're graduating or they're leaving for the summer. So there's a lot of job opportunities being posted on Ivy Job Link and things like that. In terms of applying off campus, yeah, I would just utilize the bus system. That worked for me. When I would do a health-related internship through the ICC, I would just hop on that bus that would take me to Sacramento. And so you'll find ways, but I feel your best bet is just, in terms of convenience too, trying to find a job on campus is probably the most ideal.
I would say so. I've had both on and off campus jobs at Davis. So what's nice about Davis is you can bike pretty much across Davis in around 20 minutes or so, max, from West Davis to downtown or so. Downtown does have a ton of job opportunities out there, and there's always some restaurant or cafe, something hiring. I worked at one of the places downtown, and it works well to be in the restaurant industry as a student because you can do later night shifts. So you can be on campus all day, and then maybe have a couple hours in between to nap or eat, and then go ahead to a 5-hour shift somewhere downtown. So that's definitely an option if you need to make more money. I would say you just have to weigh the convenience of maybe working on campus, having daytime hours, but making a little bit less money since you're making minimum wage, with working downtown in the restaurant industry where you might be making more money tips than you are in wages. So that's kind of the toss-up. I think it just depends on what your priorities are, and also where exactly you live in Davis, because you might not want to spend 20 minutes biking from West Davis to downtown several times in a week. But I would say that there are, I agree with Emma, on-campus jobs is what I'm holding right now, and they've been my favorite by far, but there are a lot of good opportunities to get good hours and good money in elsewhere in Davis as well.
Yeah, and then outside of that, if maybe you don't have the time to look for a job right now, even if it's part-time, there's like other opportunities where you can get like a stipend. For example, I'm currently a note taker for the Student Disability Center, and they do provide a stipend for you at the end of the quarter. You do get paid $25 per unit, and so in most classes here are about 4 units on average, and so that's like a nice way to kind of just have a little extra cash in your pocket at the end of the quarter. Another thing that I did was first year IE connections. You do get a nice stipend at the end of the quarter if you fulfill your requirements. So those are just like easy things that I like to incorporate into my quarter to try to balance and make extra money, especially because I like to travel. So yeah.
I think it's also useful from an advising perspective, well, maybe not an advising perspective, but I'm not a career counselor, but I think that sometimes students don't give themselves enough credit for the jobs that you do while you're in school. So if you are working in the restaurant industry, or if you are working at a clothing store, if you are working at a Starbucks, there's a lot of things that are transferable skills that you want to make sure you're listing on your resume. And if you feel like you're undercutting yourself on that job, go and talk to an advisor, talk to a friend, talk to the Internship and Career Center about, this is my job. What do you think I'm doing there? I don't know if there's a better way to say that, but because I'm commonly pointing out to students, like, you're working, in teams, there's
customer
service,
people, interpersonal communication,
conflict management,
all the good stuff.
So there is something to be said for those jobs as well. And, I definitely want to underline the opportunities that are available just on the campus. And then I saw another question come in, but I want to go back to something that you said, Emma, when you were going to the Sacramento campus, right? For your internship?
Yeah.
Can you say a little bit more about, you took the bus out there?
Yeah, so there's a shuttle that will take you directly from the UC Davis campus to the Sacramento campus. And if you're volunteering through like the ICC, you actually get a volunteer badge, and it's actually free if you just have to show them your badge. Even if you don't have a badge, you can still utilize this resource. You can buy a ticket at TAPS, and I haven't bought one since sophomore year, but at that time it was like $1.25 for I think it was like a one-way pass, which is still really affordable for like a 30-45 minute bus ride. So yeah, it was. And actually, when I did summer session after my freshman year, that's how I went back and forth because I didn't have a car. So I would just take the shuttle, and that's how I would get from Sacramento to Davis for summer school. Yeah.
There's also a shuttle that goes up to UC Berkeley.
Oh yeah, there is, and it's like $12. Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to read this question. It says, and I think the attendees, actually, I think the chat, sorry everybody, I think the chat is going to all the attendees. Okay, now it's only coming to me. So you could probably see this question. I think it's a really good question. I don't know if it's related. I'm graduating with the Environmental Science and Management with the GIS track. A lot of companies are looking for GIS specialists, but my experiences are only limited to the class materials, and companies are not accepting interns. So I'm worried that I will not find a job offer after I graduate. Okay, so any student perspective on that?
I have a perspective from my not campus related materials, but I actually knew someone whose father was a GIS guy. He ended up making it really big in California, but he started working in the government first, and he still does do some work for the government. So I would recommend maybe looking into state capitol jobs. A lot of times there are entry-level positions in the state capitol for things that might not be exactly what you're looking to do later on in your life, but getting some sort of experience. I see you said that they don't take interns, but if you have work-related experience through the Capitol, that might be something to look into. No, it kind of depends on what year you are as far as like next steps right now, but I would say any sort of like, even if you could find something, some temporary job over the summer, there's just a lot out there that doesn't have to be an internship. I think there's a lot of pressure on us as students to get internships. I never had like an internship through a private company or anything, but I got a lot of different work-related experience that's very applicable to the future. And so I wouldn't think of it too narrowly as you need to get exactly GIS intern experience to be more attractive to companies later on down the line.
Yeah, one of my best friends is actually taking that route as well, and she was able to find like a part-time job through like the state capitol. So definitely look through that. I know they are a little bit tricky to find, but they do exist.
You're out there.
Yeah, and in terms of being worried about not finding a job, sometimes we don't always take like a linear path. Sometimes it takes like working at like a random job before we get to this where we want to be, and that's totally okay. That's just a lot of the jobs out there, like a lot of the skills are transferable, and that may make you more marketable later when you do apply to jobs that you are desiring, I guess you can say. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, and I would also remind all students, all of you, to think about talking with your major advisors, talking with your faculty about industry connections. I think when we might not identify those transferable skills, or how can I get the skill set, because sometimes people may say, well, I'm too underexperienced to get the job. How can I get experience unless I can have the job? So maybe getting networking, job shadowing, informational interviews. Talk with the Internship and Career Center also about maybe some connections they have. And even just here as a staff person on this campus, you would be surprised, and this is a common piece of advice that I give to students, you would be surprised at how few people will ask, what does it take to get hired here? Like literally call somebody that's doing that job, or meet somebody at a mixer, or talk to them at the career fair. What does it take to get this job if I have minimal to little to no experience in that particular area? And you're saving yourself a lot of heartache and wondering and assumptions if you can just ask that question.
Yeah, that's true. Talking to people is the key for everything.
Yeah.
Communication.
Any other questions? Because I'm going to ask one more. Oh, here's another question. So since the title of today's webinar was the answer to that dreaded post-grad question, I know that that post-grad question comes up well before.
Yes, very often. Everyone wants to know.
And probably 2 years ago.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
So now that you both are taking like kind of this, Emma, you're doing sort of an unofficial gap year, because you're doing, well, the gap year is kind of really time off, right?
Yeah.
You're more, Emily, you're
I'm
doing
like
more of a
taking
gap
a step back. Yeah.
And Emma, you're doing your post, your what's
like an unofficial post back.
Yeah, an unofficial post back. So how was that conversation with your circles of support, be that friends or family? How was that for you?
Yeah.
For me, so I kind of just got tired of explaining to people. Like for me, I've always had this mentality, like you do you, I'll do me. But yeah, I definitely do get that question a lot. Like, okay, what are you gonna do after you graduate in spring? And I'm like, actually, I'm staying back, and I just let them know that this is the path that I decided to take. And the reason why I chose to do a 5th year, I actually could have been done in spring, but I didn't want to do summer session in 2017. Because I had a lot of really good opportunities to do research. And then this summer I could have finished off as well, but I wanted to go to Japan for my internship. So there is that. So I had to pick and choose. And because I'm only from Sacramento, it really wasn't a big deal for me to, stay back a couple more months. And so just honestly, I think you really just have to be secure with yourself and your decision. A lot of times when I tell people, they're like, oh, you're going to stay back. And I think a lot of times people have this like negative connotation of having a 5th year. But honestly, I think a 5th year is a really great opportunity to build yourself as a student, as an employee, build those connections with your faculty and staff to, build those relationships for letter of recommendations. I'm actually I am the newest peer advisor here. And so just being able to, spend more time in the office and work more here. And I really like my job, so I'm really happy that I get to stay because I've only been here for about 3 quarters. And so honestly, like a 5th year, like I'm really happy with my decision. And I think at the end of the day, it's just coming down to just doing what's best for you and being secure with your decision and not letting anyone, I guess, sway you, because you will get those, facial expressions that like, why are you staying back, but honestly, like you just got to do you and, do what's best for you. Yeah.
So I had mixed reactions with mine. My parents actually don't want me to go to grad school because they don't want me to go into debt. So that's definitely a consideration that I have. I pretty much have decided not to go back unless I can get it mostly paid for, whether through TA or a company maybe paying for grad school. I was also really supported by my circle of friends because we're all pretty much doing the same thing. I think it's getting a lot more common to take a gap year because the job market is better than it was about 10 years ago. It's more possible to find stuff out there. And I think we're all kind of realizing, why would we go straight back into school, spend the money, put yourself through that stress if you're not 100% sure that's what you want to do yet. So I think it's really valuable to take a year or multiple years off, figure out what your priorities are, what you want your future to look like, if you even need to go back to grad school, or if you're going to be happy just staying in the workforce. So I think for the most part, it's been a really positive reaction to me. My grandparents really want me to go back because they have something in their head that I won't be hired unless I get a master's degree, but they're comforted by the fact that I'm open to going back. So I think it's just keeping a really open mind is the main thing.
Okay, we have two more. We have time just for these last two questions. Thank you, everybody, for great questions. So, okay, next question is, most applications now are completed and submitted online. What tips or tricks do you have for making it through automated systems and standing out amongst the large number of applicants?
That is a great question.
Do you want me?
I feel like you've had a little bit more experience in that than I do.
Yeah, I would say the number one thing to think about is which field you're going into, because if you're going into a more creative field, they do want to see resumes that kind of show that you do have that creativity. If you're going into a field that's more like finance, they wanted like checklists that you have the keywords and phrases that they're looking for. So things I've learned going to the ICC, that scanners will literally be looking for specific words that they put in their application. So one thing that you really want to do is showcase your best qualities and experience in relation to what the job is looking for. So if the job is looking for great computer skills with XYZ coding application, make sure you're explicitly listing that in your resume. Otherwise, talk about your people skills. Sometimes jobs are looking for that, like customer service, things like that. Just making sure you're mirroring your resume with the application, but making sure it doesn't look forced, making sure it's still portraying you as a human, but picking up on those key things that they're looking for. That would be my advice.
Yeah, same. Definitely talk with the Internship and Career Center because they may have some insider knowledge from those particular companies as to what will help you get through those automated systems. And then myself, just as a staff person here on campus, it just depends because every recruitment committee at every offer for an interview that you have may have gotten to that process differently. I've been on recruitment committees where we all read the application. Some people might have read the resume and some people might have read the cover letter. And for myself individually, I really value the cover letter because the cover letter is a great way to stand out amongst those large number of applicants. It gives you voice, but your application is probably what gets you through the automated system most times, that required application. Everything else might be optional. So let the cover letter be your real, your personality, but get through that automated system and talk with the ICC about that. Okay, so last question. I have a question or advice regarding what types of jobs do you suggest to seek after graduation if you want to go to nursing school? And an add-on to that is I'm taking a 5th year in order to raise my GPA, but I also want to take advantage of my resources on campus as much as I can before I can graduate. Great question to wrap up on.
Yeah, it is.
I guess I can kind of tackle this one. So then, what jobs do I suggest to seek after graduation? So if you plan on taking a gap year, I know for nursing, it's really popular for people to get certified in, as a CNA, which stands for Certified Nurse Assistant. So a lot of people do that. However, I know that certification process for anything can get a little bit expensive, so I would definitely check in on different programs to see if it's worth it, and also like how long you plan on taking that gap year. Other opportunities that people have I guess held or obtained. Utilized, I don't know. Scribing is a really great opportunity for anything pre-health related. I noticed that you said you were planning on doing a 5th year, so maybe looking into the health related internships for the ICC. They have so many opportunities every quarter. You can even do it over the summer, and the great thing about that is that you get transcript notation, so that's really cool. And then there's also student-run clinics. I really, really want to advocate for them because I think we're one of the few universities that have this resource, and it's so amazing. There's actually like a website for all of the student-run clinics, so I would definitely read into that and see which one maybe which demographic you're passionate about, because each one kind of caters to a different demographic, and they're all for like the underserved community, and it's just a really great thing, and I think that's like such a cool thing about Davis. Let's see, taking advantage of resources on campus. Yeah, and then just checking in with your major advisor, maybe HPA, health profession advising, and the graduate studies. Those are really great resources.
And since the grade point average is mentioned, I'm going to make a plug here. Go in and talk with health professions advising, but also your dean's office in tandem, in partnership, because if you're investing in a 5th year, you want to make sure that you're investing in the right, in the appropriate way. Is the cost of your 5th year going to give you the outcome that you're desiring? So making sure that if you're repeating classes, are you repeating the right classes? Are you repeating the classes that are most advantageous and enrolling in the right classes that are advantageous to your long-term goal? And that would go for anybody that's thinking about a post-bac, which is additional coursework after you graduate, or taking a 5th year like this person asking the question, and Emma, to be able to do that. And sometimes Emily's choice to take that pause is definitely also a great learning experience. So I can't wait to hear your adventures next year.
I'm excited to do that world.
Okay, so we're going to come back on screen just to say goodbye to everybody. Do we fit? We moved around.
I don't know where we went.
Bye.
Bye.
Everybody.
So hope you have an awesome week, and I hope that this at least started giving you, I'm the voice from the distance here, so at least hopefully this started giving you some ideas of people to talk to, people that you can continue to talk to even after you graduate.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. We're still here for you, even after you're old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Emma's going to be here next year.
Yeah, so if you want your G check,
Yeah.
I got you.
We're open all summer, so even though school is out for most of you that aren't doing summer school, if you are doing summer school, we're here all summer as well.
Yeah.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Oh, I'm going to end now. All right.
Okay.
Okay, for real now.
For real.